Hello, everyone. I don't know what you heard, so let me repeat again. So I'm very happy to be here again. I was here last year for a panel on e-commerce, and this year I'm very happy to have Orkun being here with us for the first time in Jordan. And I think the presentation that he will give just now will be a great introduction for the panel that we'll have just in 10 minutes on e-commerce and MCommerce in Jordan and beyond. And I'll just let Orkun take it from there and introduce how PayPal views the evolution of e-commerce and startups in the region.
Thank you. Thank you, Francis, for the introduction, and thank you for inviting me here. I'm really excited to be in Amman for the first time, and I was hoping next time I will be visiting Petra too. So I'm Orkun. I make part of the team who manages the relations between PayPal and developer and startup community. So I think that this event is more focused on large corporations, telecoms, etc. But I will talk you about a little bit startup trends and next big companies by hoping that there will be some of them coming from Middle East too. So I think that everyone in the room agrees that right now the opportunity in the internet sector is still huge. Let us give you an example from the e-commerce only. Commerce volume is now 10 trillion in the world, and online commerce is only 1 trillion for the moment. So there are lots of space to go right now on e-commerce too. But we will talk about the future trends and new business opportunities too, of course. In Middle East, of course, the e-commerce is right now booming. These are the numbers that we get, and every year, in last 6 years, Middle East e-commerce volume has doubled, and I think that you can see, for example, like PayPal, but other American companies entering to the market, or local actors growing up, and there are more and more e-commerce sites, e-commerce players in the region. And of course, it's, on this one, that's a global trend, but we don't see any difference in local trends. That's MCommerce. Mobile commerce is now around 20% of the total online commerce, but it's increasing in a very, very huge pace. And right now, when I discuss with startups, if they say that they don't have any plans on mobile because that's not a priority, I am suggesting them to change their priorities. If you are on a business and you don't have any plans on mobile, especially if you are in e-commerce and you don't have anything on mobile, you need to change, I think, your plans, because your competitors has some plans or has something already on mobile, and I can assure you that no one likes to buy anymore by making this movement on the iPhone screen. So I will talk about a little bit what is the future of the shopping. I don't know if you have seen this movie. Anyone sees this movie? Do you remember it? This is Minority Report by Steven Spielberg, and that's Tom Cruise. When he enters to the shopping mall, there was all the personalized advertising. Hi Tom, welcome back to this mall, etc., etc. This can be a little bit verifying at the time, but if you pay attention to the privacy, I think that that's the future experience. That was a little bit exaggerated, but however, right now when we enter, we are expecting some personalized experiences in offline world too. So this may be the future of the shopping. Right now, I will talk to you very rapidly about the new startup trends that I am seeing across EMEA. Right now, the huge new economy, that's the sharing economy. I think that you have heard about Airbnb or some other platform that will allow users to use or rent unused resources. Francis told me today the local Airbnb site today. Quit, I think. Local. That's perfect, because let's imagine that you are going to holiday and your apartment will be free. You are renting on this platform, and there will be someone coming from another country, staying in a local place, paying cheaper than a hotel, and having more space than a hotel room. On this case, everyone is winner. Platform is winner, renter is winner, and the tourist is winner. This is a startup from France. You know, when you travel, you go to airport with your car, and you pay a lot for the parking. With this startup, you don't pay anything for the parking, and in addition to that, you can make money by allowing them to rent your car. During your trip, they will rent your car in Paris, and you will make some money. And the advantage for the tourist, of course, it will be cheaper than the classical car rentals. This is a toothbrush that everyone is using at least 2 times per day, or I hope. And this one is connected. It's getting all the statistics about your toothbrushing on you, and you can watch it on smartphones. This is a Kickstarter project that I backed. This is the electronic cigarettes that is connected to. It can allow you, it will show you all the statistics about your electronic cigarette consumption. And I think that the most challenging part that everyone wants to quit cigarette or wants to decrease, and they say, no, I'm only smoking 1 or 2, but afterwards they smoke maybe 1, 10, 15. There is no way to watch it or to follow it. With this application, you can follow. I think that all the objects that we can see around us, all the small objects that we are using daily, by not making any attention, like this toothbrush will be connected and will generate data. And all these tools will generate data, and I don't think that these platforms will keep this data for themselves, but they will share with APIs. So there will be new startups who will show in a very nice way this data to the users, or who will generate some new statistic coming from this data. These are the lamps. I was expecting this one for years now. These are the connected lamps that you can put and you can control with your smartphone. And it can change, you can change the color, and you can change the density of the light. The advantage of this one, our smartphones become the terminal of this kind of application. Because on the past, it wasn't too difficult to produce these lamps, but it was too expensive to put a terminal in every house. But right now, you don't need to put any terminal, because terminals are already in our pockets. That's the big advantage. I think that you already know this kind of bracelet. This is Fitbit, I think, but there's Jawad. There are lots of things. Especially in our tech community, I think that we are not the best sportive ones, but right now we are using these geek tools in order to be more motivated to practice or to jogging a little bit around. This is wearable device. Smartwatches. When I think that in 2006, iPhone appeared in 2007. In 2006, when we asked about how many people has smartphones, there will be only a couple of hands who will be raising. Right now, when I'm here, I'm asking how many smartphones do you have in this room, there will be maybe few hands which will raise. Right now, 2007 iPhone appeared after 7 years. How many smartphones do you have right now? Who has a smartphone in their pocket right now? Okay, my personal expectation for the future in 6-7 years, when I will ask this question, how many smartphones do you have, on your arm, and there will be the same ratio of smartphones right now. So this is a new platform. So I think that there will be dedicated applications. There will be, like we are talking about mobile developers right now, we will talk about smartwatch developers. That's my personal guess. Do you know one thing funny for the future? You can make lots of guesses as you want. If it's true, there will be some people who will say, okay, this guy from PayPal told us 7 years ago. And if it's wrong, no one will remember. Do you know what is it? That's a 3D printer. I think that that's a total game changer. But this time, this is not in the future, because we already see this one. There is a Fab Things. That's a startup coming from Ireland. They are selling on a classical e-commerce site all these small accessories for men and women you can buy. The only difference than a classical accessory site, they are 3D printing everything on the site. So you can design your own bracelet, which will be unique for you, and then they will ship to you. So I think that these 3D printers right now, they can, you can print metal too. You can do lots of stuff. It will allow to companies to produce very cheaply prototypes. It will allow to produce all the accessories uniquely at home, and it will be game changer for the production cycle. And there are lots of startups right now popping up about 3D printers, and that's a trend to follow, and there will be lots of opportunities. So just to conclude my presentation, to say what we do for startups. This is my team, PayPal developer, and we love startups. Why? Because PayPal was a startup in 1999 too. And then in 2002, it was acquired by eBay Inc. And last year, David Marcus, when David Marcus became the CEO of PayPal, he said that we are going back to our roots. And we, as a team, we discussed how to support better startups, and we announced last year a package which is called PayPal Startup Blueprint to support the startups. And right now we are discussing with some local incubators, accelerators here too, in order to support Jordan startups or Middle East startups too.
I'll start actually, let's energize the audience. This is the last panel of the day. So let's energize the audience with the voting question related to mobile and e-commerce and mobile and e-payment. Let's have the voting question, please. And also, if you have any questions for PayPal, now is the time to ask too. So we said we'll combine the panel and also take any questions for the presentation. So this is the voting question. The next 2 to 3 years, which type of product or service will be the most demanded through or mobile commerce in the Arab world? Airline ticket and hotel reservations, bill payments, software, entertainment, digital content, electronic goods, clothes and perfumes, or other. The survey in my presentation actually was an insight into the current mix of services. But what do you think will be the top in the coming 2 to 3 years? Bill payments, convenience, basically. So we'll start with the Central Bank of Jordan because it all goes through you sometimes, bill payments and banks. What's your point on the above?
Actually, I'm very happy with their answer. But before, let's start with this very small audience now by the end of the day, because we spend the whole day talking about ICT. Now comes the fun in e-commerce and payment. However, payment might not be fun, but we can make it more fun when we make it easier and cheaper. Bill presentment and payment. The Central Bank of Jordan actually recently expanded the mandate, not only to make the own goal or objective is the monetary policy. So we started looking more and more deeper into financial stability. And since payments in general or payment systems are the backbone for financial stability and monetary policy, we opted to reform and to restructure the whole payment landscape, one of which is the bill presentment and payment. We know that in Jordan, we still go in long queues. We spend almost every Saturday queuing, going to pay our bills and our dues. So the Central Bank of Jordan decided to go on a national-wide building bill presentment and payment platform in coordination with all operating banks in Jordan. We made it compulsory for all banks to link to this switch, so billers wouldn't need to open accounts with more than a bank. And at the same time, with one link, we make it easier instead of many bilateral arrangements between billers and banks. So it's much easier. So banks will provide their customers with the facility to present the payments and the bills and to pay them electronically. What about unbanked people? And here comes the problem. We are talking about the majority of adults in Jordan who don't have bank accounts.
What's the percentage of those?
Almost 74% of the adults in Jordan are unbanked. It's very shocking and surprising because there are many indicators in this regard. If we look at the number of banks and the branches, we are considered overbanked. If we look into the number of accounts held, we are overbanked. But if we look at the indicator of the adults who have bank accounts, it's very shocking and surprising.
Is it tied to the people in the workforce, the actual people working, having bank accounts?
Actually, one of the reasons, for example, most of people working for military institutions under specific rank, they are not allowed to have bank accounts. People under 18 cannot have bank accounts. And people who live in poverty pockets and in urban areas, they don't have bank accounts because of the maintenance account that they have to hold, the filler account, which is 200 JDs. It might be all their wealth for many of them. So, and the penetration of banks in these areas, it's not feasible for them. So we understand that they don't have branches or ATM machines in these areas. And still in Jordan, we did not allow the principal agent framework for banks. So banks cannot have like branchless banking or agents in urban areas. So we decided to facilitate many areas for very poor people. We decided to increase or to include them within the official financial system. And the first actually official communication between any person with any financial service is paying their bills or getting the remittances. So we are integrating the mobile payment switch with the bill presentment and payment. And we are planning to plant many kiosk machines and other facilities for people in these areas to enable them to get their transfers or remittances, to cash out their mobile wallets, to pay their bills.
Thank you. PayPal. What do you think of the above, and how does it?
By the way, before PayPal, our system also supports e-commerce, so we are competing with you directly.
How does it, Francis? How does it basically? What do you think of it, and how does it compare to what you have actually you see from the region, PayPal use?
So in the research that we did, and Orkun showed some of the results that we had last year, we saw that because of the average price ticket, it's airlines and hotels that are the most expensive or the most bought, but again, because of average price. But because the question is, what is in the next few years, what will be the sought after services? I think bill payment makes sense. And if you look at it, a lot of companies are looking for convenience, and they're looking for the ability to be able to pay for their bills, to pay for e-government fees from the comfort of their home. And they want to do that very easily and also safely. So it does make sense for PayPal to help those consumers that are looking for that. And we're not really competing with the local services, because today we're more helping local consumers buy abroad, and we're more helping local merchants being able to sell their services to the rest of the world. So an hotel like Four Seasons, they don't really need PayPal because they can accept credit cards. But if you're a small hotel or a small, or could mention Airbnb or Guib, which is the local Airbnb. So if you want to offer your apartment for rent for a few days, either in the Dead Sea or somewhere else, you can't offer, credit card processing. It's too expensive for you, and the consumers won't trust you. So you need to offer something that is known the world over, and that's what PayPal does. Now, in terms of attracting tourists to the region, and especially to Jordan, I think that's primordial, and it's very important to continue building the economy here.
Thank you. Nael, you look at the audience's approach, and you lead a thriving IT company in Jordan. What's your thoughts, and how does an IT company in this space leverage or figure out opportunities based on the above?
Thank you, Jawad. Actually, before I go into this, I would like to give some historical experiences that I have on e-commerce, if I may. I am the managing director of a Jordanian software company called ESKADENIA Software, which was established in the year 2000. Before we established ESKADENIA Software, I used, with my family, we used to live in Sweden and China for about 17 years. In the 90s, e-commerce and even some mobile payments was actually exploding in the developed countries, especially Sweden, because Sweden is one of the most advanced countries in terms of technology. And before we left Sweden to move to Jordan, we thought that the main challenge or the main task that we would like to bring to Jordan is how we can automate the industry and the society in general. So we established a company with 3 divisions. One, to work with telecommunications, as we used to work at Ericsson, which is a telecommunication company, and we have lots of background in telecom. The other department was how to automate enterprises or companies with advanced software. And the third was internet. And of course, at that time in 2000, there were many, or at least more than 10 or 20 companies in Jordan that do websites. So we thought that we don't want to work like all other companies. We wanted to focus on e-commerce. So we started to look for customers who were interested at the end of the year 2000 in e-commerce. And of course, at that time, the situation was completely different than today. We probably had less than 100,000 mobile subscribers with one operator called Zain. Orange or Mobile was just started at the end of 2000 or beginning of 2000. Internet was almost non-existent. For the company, we contracted one of the ISPs in Jordan for a 64 kilobits per second connection, and we paid something like $5,000 a year for that. And I'm saying this just to give you a vision of how it was 14 years ago. But in the beginning of 2001, we actually succeeded to convince one of the most, I would say, successful Arabic sweets company in Jordan called Zalatimo to have an e-commerce website. And we launched the site in the beginning of 2001, and actually it was a huge success. We did not expect it, and he did not expect it, but he was selling in, I would say, $10,000 a month, which was a huge surprise. And basically, of course, none of the Jordanians was buying from Zalatimo from the internet, but the e-commerce came from Jordanians or Arabic people who lived outside of Jordan, like United States, Europe, Australia, and we had an agreement with Aramex for deliveries, and actually within 48 hours, the sweets were delivered to people in the United States or in Europe with a price of about $25, delivered to the door, which was great. Of course, that worked very, very well until a horrible event happened, September 11th in 2001, and the e-commerce collapsed because of restrictions on, of course, deliveries from the Middle East. And so it was, a short, let's say, happy experience. After that, my partner, Doha, and although we are a strictly product software company doing products for clients, we don't want normally to be partners with our customers, but Doha thought it would be great to have another idea, another e-commerce idea, which we launched in 2002, which was basically to deliver flowers to Jordanian recipients based on the Jordanians who live outside of Jordan. So if someone would like to deliver some flowers to his girlfriend or wife or sister or mother or any occasion, would say marriages and so on, they, from United States, Europe, Australia, and so on, they logged on to azharna.com. Azharna is an Arabic word meaning flowers. And they ordered, and we delivered. We had an agreement with one or two of the florists in Jordan, and we delivered, which was also a very good experience, but it was commercially unviable. I'm just saying this as an introduction because today we live in a completely different society where we have more than 10 million mobile phones, and those mobile phones that we have today, probably half of them are smartphones, while the phones that we had at that time were, they had a display of maybe 2 inches by 1 inch or 2 inches. We have internet, which is relatively speaking, widespread, either through ADSLs or through broadbands or through 3G and so on and so on. So honestly, I really, and of course, from 2001 and 2 until now, we have done many, many e-commerce projects. Unfortunately, most of them have not succeeded, and they were actually launched by very courageous and innovative people in Jordan. But the situation probably was not ripe, or the experience or the commercial experience of those people was not enough, although we as an organization tried to help very, very much. This is the past. If I have 2 more minutes, a little bit later, we can talk about the current and future situation. But as I have taken some time, we can come to this a little bit later. Okay, if we want to look into the opportunities, of course, we really see huge opportunities for e-commerce. I honestly believe that we have just touched the tip of the iceberg, as they say. Jordan and the Middle East in general is coming to, in my opinion, of course, if the political situation, of course, permits it, but in certain countries, at least in the GCC, which is the Gulf Cooperation Council, which consists of 6 countries, which more or less have unions and have almost borderless situation between them, and Jordan, which I really wish can be part of that organization or those countries. Those countries, I believe, will be the start of an environment, a good environment for e-commerce. E-commerce normally succeeds in places where you have a huge society, or like United States, for example, where you have 50 states with open borders, you have many people with good economies, and the GCC and Jordan can be that environment in the Middle East. Of course, e-commerce...
That's why the most success is in digital goods. You see it in the Middle East. What picks up really easy is services and online goods rather than goods that require customs and shipping and so on.
Right. Of course, to me, of course, bill payment is good. But for me, of course, everyone has a definition of everything. For me, bill payment is not e-commerce. It is automating a certain service to pay. To me, e-commerce is when you actually sell and buy products and services that otherwise you pay cash for. I believe that, as I said, I believe that opening borders in the Middle East and improving the economical situation in the Middle East will be the factor which will make e-commerce a success. We have, unfortunately, many countries where the economy has collapsed or almost collapsed, like in Syria, in Iraq, where unfortunately e-commerce cannot be something that can be very successful. In places in Egypt like Libya, Sudan, Tunisia, and so on, Yemen, where unfortunately the local situation is not good enough to encourage e-commerce. But in other countries like the GCC, Jordan and Lebanon and Morocco, I believe those countries can be a very good place for an increased level of e-commerce.
Thank you, Nael. Jack, you live and work in the Netherlands, and you have extensive experience with local governments in the Netherlands. Just elaborate how they've used mobile payments or e-payments and how they plan to use it further and so on. Share with us the Dutch experience.
Yes, I will. Thank you first for inviting me here. It's an honor to be here and to share the experience of all in the room and in the panel. Local government in the Netherlands. Let me stipulate some of the situation over there. The business systems which the local government uses in the Netherlands are divided over 2 companies who deliver it, and it's stuck. There's no development being placed because of regulation through Europe, and also the market, the government itself does not know what to do. I work for the City Council of Amsterdam, and I've been asked to do a proof of concept with two entrepreneurs into the market to develop apps specifically for local service delivery, in which we take in the infrastructure of a cloud solution, of a cloud infrastructure underneath, and the total process of a certain governmental product being put digitally and distributed via apps and web distribution. So, for example, you want to have a passport, you do that online, but the situation beforehand was, okay, you filled in your forms, you want a new passport, and then a civil servant will go to a computer and a printer and put print, and then we'll fill it out by hand. Now, what we're now doing, and redistribute it. What we're doing now is that this total process, including with digital marking, to do it totally automatic.